Strigar, do you want to start us off on the Titans and whatever the hell that was?
Yeah, I going into this year, I wasn't necessarily very high on the Titans defense. They changed a lot of personnel. Of course, they brought in Bud Dupree, Danico Autry's on that defensive line, Janoris Jenkins at corner, Caleb Farley they drafted with their first round pick. A lot of changes. So this defense as a whole was, boom or bust. And I can firmly say bust after seeing week one. The Cardinals dropped 38 points easily on the Titans defense. 416 total yards, I believe. 4 Kyler Murray touchdowns. He was just dicing them up. Five
touchdowns.
Okay. Wow. Well, then that just puts everything into perspective for you. Because outside of DeAndre Hopkins, name one elite playmaker that the Cardinals have. Can you name one other one?
Not elite, but I like Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't
not elite.
That counts.
There aren't many teams with multiple elite playmakers.
Yeah,
exactly. But it's just D-Hop, really, because the run game, it's James Conner and Chase Edmonds. It's all right. It's good, but it's not amazing. So it's like the Titans' defense could sink the Titans' offense, and that's just the worst part of it all. It was my biggest fear coming into the year for the Titans, because as good as that offense looks on paper, the defense was super boomer bust, and it's looking like a bust right now. Not very confident in it. We'll see over the year if they begin to gel, but they just looked lost, and Kyler Murray took advantage of it, and he just diced them up. But on that same note, we should also shout out the Cardinals defense, because the Cardinals defense looks very improved from last year. So I'm excited to see how that works. Buda Baker still looks good. Byron Murphy, as Anish was saying, he looks solid. I think the Titans defense is just not where it needs to be right now. And there needs to be a good balance for the Titans to really go far as a team. And right now, I just don't think they have it.
How are you not going to mention Chandler Jones with 5 sacks?
Yeah, I was going
to.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, I'm in Syracuse too. Go Orange, baby. But Chandler Jones, absolute monster. 5 sacks, incredible day. He was just on Ryan Tannehill the whole time. He made Taylor Lewan go on Twitter and literally admit that he was trash. It's crazy to me. And I mean, Chandler Jones was just dominant in every fashion on that day. So shout out to him. Go Orange.
He had a season-ending injury last year, and people were concerned how he would do. How's that? 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. And I was so context. Shrikar, don't you have a bet with me that the Titans will win the division over the Colts? That's a bet that's out there.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
Titans got basically what I called the 2019 Browns moment, which is hype, a lot of hype, and they got humbled at home. And it's ironic because the Browns got humbled the same way
by the
Titans. So I kind of had a little bit of a smile watching that game. This defense, it is a major issue. And ironically, like a guy I watch a lot, Colin Cowherd, his bold take was that the Titans would not have a winning season. That's a legit possibility considering the teams they have to play. And I think this defense is their secondary is inconsistent. They lost to Dory Jackson, Malcolm Butler. Aside from Harold Landry, I mean, that front seven really couldn't get much going. And I'm not a fan of what this team. I mean, Kevin Byard and Harold Landry were the only 2 players that made somewhat of an impact during that game. And for the offense, I mean, they got humbled. Everyone was hyping up Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Julio Jones. Byron Murphy, when he was playing on both of them, shut both of them down except for 1 touchdown. That's it. He was incredible. And that's a guy that I've been high on ever since he came into the league, I believe in 2019. He's been an absolute stud for this Cardinals team. And, learning under a guy like Pat Pete, it's his time now. And the Titans defense, major issue. And, I mean, if they go in shootouts, right? Or if they start getting falling from behind, Derrick Henry is essentially not as good as he can be. This is why I said Christian McCaffrey is the best back in the NFL, and I don't think it's that close. It's because Derrick Henry you can put swingers on the outside. I've said this multiple times. The Browns did it. The Ravens did it. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you put guys on the outside to kind of swing at him, it's really hard for him to go on the outside and really break off a big run. So that's something to say. And I was also a believer that they rushed Taylor Lewan back. This is a Pro Bowl left tackle who came off an ACL injury in week 6. That is a clear rush. You're rushing an offensive lineman off an ACL to play in week 1 when he hasn't really had a full time to recover. I know they put him in practice and stuff, but just it's not good enough. And he got absolutely manhandled. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And he at least admitted it, but And I think the loss of Jack Conklin is also catching up to them. I know it's been, 2 years out, but yeah, this Titans team's got some concerns. They got humbled. I'm not going to say they're not going to be a playoff team or not even win their division. I think they're still a really good team on paper, but their pass rush was a concern last year, and it still is, and if not more. That's what I'm going to end it on.
Yeah, I think you guys might have roasted them a little too far with that last line, Anish, because if I were to ask you guys who had more pressures week 1, the Cardinals or the Titans, who would you
Titans.
guess?
It was the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Chandler Jones had
Ironically,
5 sacks, and Tannehill was under pressure the entire game, but the Titans actually had more pressures than the Cardinals.
I think that's a little skewed, though, considering Kyler tends to run out of the pocket a lot quicker than other quarterbacks. So, I mean, they're technically pressures, but, like, not really. Like, I know, like, stat-wise, it'll say that, but a guy
against
like
a pocket passer, it's much more impressive.
So, like, I would say it's a little bit skewed.
I disagree, because, I mean, the reason Kyler rushes is because he sees the pressure and he's just able to get out of there. I think there were, if you watch the game, there were many times where the Titans kind of had Kyler dead to rights and they just couldn't bring him to the ground because of how mobile he is. But they did well. I mean, the pass rush was there. So I will at least give them that. The rest of it, the secondary was kind of terrible. They just weren't able to stop anything. Kyler looked so comfortable. He had excellent touch on the ball. The corners were just lost with Hopkins and Kirk and even AJ Green and Rondell Moore.
Fulton, I mean, that's a guy that I was really disappointed in.
Yeah, but the pass rush is there. I think they will struggle against mobile quarterbacks, and we'll get to that if we talk about them in picks this week against the Seahawks, because I'm predicting another time that they kind of struggle against Russell Wilson. But the pass rush was there. I think Bud Dupree helped a little bit, and they were getting pressure. The problem is Kyler Murray brings that extra level. And that could come back to haunt the Titans, because in games like they might have to play against Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, like you can't get through the AFC playoffs without facing a mobile quarterback. So it's going to be tough. But yeah, they were bad. I will give them that, though. They were good, I think, at getting pressure. And I think that as the season goes on, this Titans defense will improve a little bit, kind of bring back the pendulum swing to where we thought they would be, because they're not going to be this bad through the entire season. The Arizona Cardinals are an above average team on offense for sure. So yeah, they were bad, but they're going to bounce back. Just a matter of when, because this Titans team is not bad. They're a good football team. There's a reason there are a lot of people predicted them to win the division. So we'll spare them just a little bit.